32 men and 1 woman were stranded on a deserted island for 6 full years. So what did these 32 men, fresh from war and having not seen a woman in years, do to the only woman among them? But the story isn't what you think. Though this woman was a victim, she caused the deaths of 11 men. How? But there's more. When you hear about this woman's rescue from the island and what happened afterward, you won't believe it. The year was 1944, the final stages of World War II. America had mounted enormous pressure on Japan. The war's end was near. The woman at the center of our story was Kazuko Higa, a Japanese woman in her 20s. She lived with her husband, Shoichi Higa, on Anatahan Island, one of the northern Mariana Islands. Anatahan Island was a small but active settlement. Coconuts were grown and traded on the island, which attracted workers from different regions. Kazuko and her husband were among these workers. In 1939, the island's volcanoes began to activate and World War II broke out. Nearly everyone on the island returned to their homelands. However, a few people remained, including Kazuko, her husband Shoichi, and the island leader Kikuchiro. They believed staying on the island during the war would be safer than going to the city. Shoichi had a sister living on a separate island who was in danger. Shoichi set out by boat to bring his sister to Anatahan. Before leaving, he entrusted his wife Kazuko to his most trusted friend, Kikuchiro. But Shoichi would never return. As bombing intensified, it became impossible for him to reach the island. Kazuko and Kikuchiro were left alone on the vast island. Despite Shoichi's promise to return within a month at most, months passed, but he never came back. Kazuko and Kikuchiro continued their lives in uncertainty. Then came the most critical moment of our story. In 1944, Japanese ships passing near Anatahan Island were hit by American missiles. After the explosion, 31 young Japanese soldiers who survived swam to the island using wooden planks. When they arrived on the island, only 2 people greeted them: Kazuko, a young and beautiful woman in her 20s, and Kikuchiro. Now there were 32 men and 1 woman on the island. Kikuchiro realized that Kazuko would be in danger among these 31 strange men. So he introduced himself as Kazuko's husband. This way, the soldiers wouldn't look at Kazuko inappropriately, and she would be safe. For the first year, this strategy worked. The soldiers lived respectfully with Kazuko and Kikuchiro. In fact, this arrangement benefited both sides. Kazuko and Kikuchiro's knowledge about the island helped the soldiers, while the soldiers' high work capacity benefited Kazuko and Kikuchiro. However, some soldiers began secretly watching Kazuko and Kikuchiro. They noticed there was never any marital intimacy between them, but rather formal and distant communication. When the soldiers realized Kazuko wasn't actually married, their suppressed desires exploded. Now there was no obstacle preventing them from being with Kazuko. To the soldiers, Kazuko was now a young, beautiful, and most importantly, single woman. One night, several soldiers assassinated Kikuchiro, who still posed a threat, and killed him. The soldiers, fresh from war, hadn't seen a woman in years. Each had accumulated intense desires ready to explode at any moment. Fights began among the soldiers to possess Kazuko. Some soldiers were willing to kill their comrades for Kazuko. Some soldiers tried to protect Kazuko genuinely, claiming her without ulterior motives. But there were far more soldiers with bad intentions toward her. Kazuko was approached without her consent. She was touched. She was raped. The soldiers had jealous fits over Kazuko. Fights broke out for her. Murders were committed. During these 6 years, Kazuko willingly became intimate with some soldiers. But these were mostly not for love, but for security. She chose her lovers especially from the strongest ones, so they could protect her from other soldiers. But these men could survive only briefly. They were quickly killed. Of these 31 men, 11 died or were killed over Kazuko during the 6 years. Before we continue with the video, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and like the video so you don't miss incredible stories like this. While all this was happening, food scarcity on the island was becoming serious. Life in chaos could never improve. Everyone lived in constant anxiety. They could be killed at any moment. One day, a soldier realized the dead-end situation they were in. He thought Kazuko was the cause of all these events. He organized a secret meeting with his fellow soldiers. Why are we fighting each other? The whole problem is Kazuko. Without Kazuko, we'd all live happily. Let's kill her, he said. Most agreed with this idea, although some didn't agree because of the love they felt for Kazuko. They couldn't prevent a small team from planning an assassination attempt on her. As the assassination day approached, one of the soldiers told Kazuko about his comrade's entire plan. He also told her he was in love with her. In horror, Kazuko fled to the other side of the island. She had been able to take very little food with her. Her food ran out quickly. For days she lived hungry and thirsty with the fear that soldiers would find her, meaning her death. Every day she would climb to the top of a different tree, remove her clothing, and wave it frantically, desperately hoping someone who could save her would notice. And finally, in 1951, an American ship spotted her. The crew came ashore, took her aboard, and brought her to Japan. Kazuko told the American soldiers there were about 20 more men on the island who needed to be rescued. Despite everything they had put her through, Kazuko wanted them rescued too. The American soldiers went to the island and told the 20 surviving Japanese soldiers that the war had ended 6 years ago. Japan had lost, and they were now safe. But the Japanese soldiers didn't believe the war was over. They thought it was a trick America was playing. They turned the American soldiers away. Eventually, when the Japanese soldiers received letters written by their own families proving the war was over, they were finally convinced and evacuated from the island. When Kazuko returned to Japan, she became instantly famous with this remarkable story. She was known by the nickname Queen of Anatahan. Films were made and books were written based on this tragic event. However, a book written by Japanese soldiers who survived the island to vilify Kazuko changed everything. What was said in this book was accepted as truth by the public, and Kazuko's fame instantly crashed. Some believe Kazuko was a manipulative and seductive woman, while others think she was a strong and brave woman despite being a victim. The Anatahan Island Incident went down in history as one of the most controversial survival stories in modern times. So what do you think about Kazuko? Let's meet in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and share with your loved ones.